All right, thank you for coming to our Wednesday webinar. This week we're doing the power of webhook automation. So yeah, I appreciate you guys all coming to join to check out just what Cosmic.js webhooks are all about. So I've got this agenda here. Can everybody see my screen okay? Carson, can you see it okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to start off just with a simple example on how to use Cosmic.js webhooks, and then move on to some really awesome, powerful bucket integrations. We have a lot of different services you can plug into your Cosmic.js bucket to connect to different services. I'll go over deploying to Netlify, and then a quick intro to Cosmic Functions, how you can deploy a function to act as a webhook in your bucket. So you get a pretty quick code deployment to use for any sort of like automated webhook you need done in your bucket. So to get things started, let's go ahead and jump into the Cosmic.js backend really quick. I'll show you just a quick example of webhooks. So in your Cosmic.js bucket, you'll see if you go down to settings, scroll down to webhooks, you'll see we have this webhooks area where you can add as many webhooks as you want. You get to really customize when you want this webhook sent. So if you want it sent when an object is created or saved as draft, or published, object deleted, media created. So you can see all these different options here. For when you do have some activity within your bucket, you can post to an endpoint of your choice, and that data will come through. And you can visit the documentation, kind of see how that all lays out within the data structure. So you'll have like this format where it'll show the type, and the types will be these kind of custom event types, and then it'll be created at, and you'll have your data response, which is going to be that object or media, and that's going to be singular objects and media, and that's what happens on our the functionality here. Is you'll see it come through in that data property. All right, so let's go ahead and test this stuff out. So I set up this bucket to connect to ngrok, and in this quick example, I'll kind of show you just what you can do with kind of testing out your webhooks. So I've created this Express application, and can you see this okay? It's a really basic Express listener, right? So you have your Express body parser app. It's going to listen for JSON data, and so we want to use the JSON body parser, and we're going to have an app.post response here. So the request we're going to get is actually in the body object. So when we do receive this data, this is exactly what we're kind of listening for, is that we're going to get this response here. So we're going to listen for this body object from our webhook, and then this is going to send just this plain text here. So I'm going to go ahead and just fire this app up. So I'll do let's see. Let me show you guys what I'm doing here. So as you can see, I'm in this Express app here. So it's just index.js, node modules. So I'll do node, just in case you need to make any changes using node daemon. You could easily just do node index.js, but I wanted to, just in case you needed to edit anything, this will reload that application. Okay, so cool. So now we're running this on port 3000. And oh, let me get that back here. And what I want to do actually is I want to open this up publicly so that we can listen to it from our Cosmic.js bucket, and we can have that webhook communicate directly with this this application, right? So I'll do ngrok And if you haven't used ngrok before, you just do npm I g ngrok. I believe it's an npm module. You can just simply, it should be available here. Yeah. So super popular for just creating like this public endpoint or public access to your local locally running processes. So I'll go ahead and ngrok HTTP, and that's port 3000 that this is running on. So now it's giving me this this URL. So what I can do with this URL is I can go ahead and access this, and really like what I'm looking to do here is just listen for this response. So I've got this, my application is running. If I want to do, I'm going to go into Postman. If you can see that I'm in Postman right now, and I've got this already pulled up to have raw body sent as JSON data. I'll go ahead and do a send request to this, and as you can see, that this ngrok URL is in fact working, and it's sending data to my Node application listener, right? So this is what I'm going to test for our webhook. So I'll go ahead and add this to our webhook area in our bucket. And what this does, is it will send the post data to this endpoint when objects are created and published, or edited and published, right? So I've already got a few objects set up, so I'll go ahead and save these webhooks. So I'll go to Pages, and I'll go ahead and create a new webhook test. And let me go ahead and just kind of pull this up side by side so we can kind of see what's going on here. And I'll add a new webhook test. All right, so as you can see, that sent the data to my my ngrok URL, which then console logged out this this body request, right? So inspecting this this data a little bit, you'll see that it has like all the information I need: title, content, everything that's there in the API is available here within within this this webhook data. So that's pretty awesome, right? What are the applications of that? Well, there are pre-built webhooks for connecting to Slack and to different apps in the Zapier ecosystem. So any third-party integration you can think of is available. If you need to connect to Algolia to save your pages for search results in their search API. If you need to connect to Stripe or any of your favorite services, really, you can just connect via a webhook. So super powerful stuff, and this is kind of the raw explanation of how this all works. Is that it'll send that post data directly to that URL, and so what we've already done for everybody is you've got these integrations here that make it super easy to just plug these right in. And either you need to add a webhook, or if it's like a Zapier type of thing, it really is just a simple like form you have to fill out telling Zapier what fields you want to use. Then you can integrate those super easily into your bucket. So that's pretty much, let's see, that's the rundown of the Express and ngrok stuff. I'm kind of getting into the integrations part now. And if you have any questions, feel free to mark those down and save them for our Q&A section. I'm going to move into the bucket integrations portion of this webinar now. So if you look at the integrations page, you see that there's a ton of very useful, popular services. We're adding more on a regular basis. You'll see more pop up here as well. If you do have any requests for different services, we'd love to hear some of those as well. But as far as like ones that we use quite a bit and we find that are very popular, our Slack integration is super handy. And what this does is it allows you to connect your Cosmic.js bucket. Let's say you added a new page here, you wanted it to ping your content editor in your Slack channel, you can just set up, add to Slack, and this will allow you to connect your Cosmic.js bucket to your team's Slack channel, and then anytime you edit the content in your your bucket dashboard, it'll send that via webhook to your team in that channel, right? So we've got it broken down into a simple step-by-step process. Add to Slack. Step 2, grab this webhook, and this screenshot is a bit dated, but it's the same concept. Go into your bucket, add the Slack URL, and then you'll see kind of what happens there is it like whenever you add pages, you'll see this this thread going with different data points. You'll see some images. If you've got images in your metadata, and it's a really cool way to connect with your team and tell them that you're working on stuff in Cosmic, and they can see some of that activity there in real time. Okay, so that's Slack, and there's other integrations here that you can kind of check out. For Zapier, I want to do this one really quick just because it's super neat. Let's see if I can log in here. Okay, so Zapier is really cool in that it allows you to connect with a lot of different services, right? So if you go into your Zaps, let's see, if I want to go ahead and create a new Zap, what I do here is just make a Zap, and we've got this one here. I've got it there available to me as in my apps, but all you need to do is just search it. Once you've accepted the invitation, because it currently is by invite only for the Cosmic.js app, once you do have it on your account, you can go ahead and just search it here for triggering any sort of data to be sent out. So to do this, all you need to do is just kind of click through, like, do you want to have it triggered on a new object, on an edited object, and you kind of go through these different steps that they have, just a super easy interface, right? Save and continue, and then you set up your options. You just click through which bucket do you want to use. We'll use the webhooks this bucket that I set up here for demonstrations, and we'll click continue. We can pull in some sample data. Object A, object B, okay. All right, so next, your Zap currently lacks an action step, so now we need to add an action. So you see here, this is trigger, this is action. Let me see, what do we have here to play with? So we've got different services here to connect, and let's do a Google Sheet. Let's see what this is like here. Okay, so I'll pull in this new test sheet. Let's see if we can get this to trigger some cool actions. All right, so let's do update spreadsheet. Look up spreadsheet row. New test. Let's see. Test. Oh, okay. I see it. Create spreadsheet row. Okay, so that'll create a spreadsheet row. Which account is this? Okay. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save and continue, and we'll, I believe we'll pull in these. Okay, these test sheets. Okay. Okay, so I've got my worksheet here, sheet 1. Okay. All right, so now it pulls through this this information: title, author, headline, content, and I can go ahead and map this out to the different properties in my Cosmic.js object. And I don't believe there is an author or any of that on this current Yeah, on this one there's not. So we'll just go ahead and say continue. All right, so now let's see, send test spreadsheet to Google Rows. Okay, so I guess this is going to send a test now, and it'll tell me the status. A new webhook test. Okay, so that went through, right? And we'll finish. Turn the Zap on, and we'll go ahead and just start playing with this. See what's happening with this. With this integration. It should be pretty automatic, right? So if I add a new page, it should be new test webhook. And I don't think we mapped the content area, but let's just go ahead and see what happens there. All right, so you saw that kind of just pop in there automatically. So pretty cool stuff. You can kind of play with like the different metadata to map it to your different columns here in your sheet. But yeah, that's kind of the power that Zapier has out of the box with just these like simple forms that you can manage to connect your object to just thousands of services. So really cool, powerful stuff. Carson actually did a badass job as far as like detailing a lot of these really popular ones. So you can kind of see if you go go to his profile. See, there's a ton of these articles for integrations, and if you can search in articles, you should be able to find some good Zapier content, right? So a lot of good content there for you to check out. But yeah, that's pretty much using Zaps to connect to Cosmic with webhooks. All right, deploy to Netlify. Okay, so really quick, deploying a static site build to Netlify is super easy using Cosmic. So we've got some apps available for you to check out for doing just that. And I think the Gatsby blog is a good one to start with. So let's go ahead and install this Gatsby blog. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the webhooks area. Just going to I'll delete some of this stuff. Well, you know what? Before I do that, let me go to web hosting, and I'll go ahead and deploy this to Netlify. So if you go to web hosting, you'll see that we have a few different options for deploying your Netlify or your Gatsby blog or whatever application that you install. And deploying to Cosmic is super easy. Deploying to Now, Heroku, Netlify. So for this example, I'm going to show you how to deploy to Netlify so that you can trigger these automatic builds into their service. So all you do is click deploy to Netlify. It will connect to GitHub. It'll create a new repository in your GitHub account, which is cool. I've already got one set up there with that name, so we'll do a webhooks version. All right, and so it is currently deploying the website now. So Netlify makes this super easy to just connect your GitHub account, add the repo, and they'll automatically deploy it when you push to different branches. So super easy to get that all set up on their end, and really easy to connect to Cosmic for these like automatic deploys on content changes. So using webhooks, we can connect Cosmic.js to Netlify. So whenever content is edited within our bucket, it will trigger that deployment process on Netlify. So let me go ahead and go into deploy settings, and we'll go ahead and add a build hook. And what's the build hook name? Cosmic.js content edit, and it'll deploy the master branch and it's going to create our custom build hook there. And all we need to do is just copy this and add it to our webhooks in Cosmic.js. We'll go ahead and delete these other ones and save. All right, that's pretty much it. So if I go into my my newly deployed website, okay, it's already deployed, awesome. So now what we need to do is test the deployment, the auto deployment on content edit. So if I add a new blog post, need to add a description. So we've got these required fields. All right, so now what this should be doing now is deploying this website again. So let's check this out. And there you go, site deploy in progress, meaning that that webhook, in fact, did trigger the deploy. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and wait for a little bit for this to finish building, and then what happens is we'll have this link here will show our new blog post if everything worked correctly. All right, so triggered webhook Cosmic.js edit. Okay, so this should be done. And it is not. And the reason is because we did not set up our environment variables. So what basically happened there is we did not add this environment variable. So what we need to do is, let's see, deploys. So if you do see that old content showing up there, this is probably what the issue is that it's not connected to your bucket. So what we need to do is set up our, let's see, site settings. I think this is build and deploy, build environment variables. All right, so here we go, Cosmic_bucket webhooks. Okay, so in this specific application, and actually all of our Cosmic apps that we have available, to connect your Cosmic.js bucket, you'll need to add this environment variable. Cosmic_bucket value is your bucket slug. Okay, so if I save the environment variables, does this trigger a new deploy? That's the question. So let's go ahead and trigger, let's see what this has here now. So I don't believe it did trigger a new deploy, but we'll go ahead and trigger the deploy again. Oh, and now we can see kind of what's going on there. So it should pull in that environment variable into the build process to actually connect to our bucket. All right, so as we're waiting for that to build and deploy, you can go ahead and see. You'll see in web hosting, this is where you can check out the code base for this Gatsby blog. Okay, so we're deploying and we're done. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our website. And there we go. All right, so here's our new blog post. It did pull through the content, has that image, testing the deploy, and that's how you set up Cosmic.js connected to Netlify, automatic builds on content edits. Caveat, if you do kind of see that your content isn't changing out, it's most likely the environment variable. So you can go ahead and set that in there, Netlify site settings, and that should fix any of that the content not pulling through issue. All right, and that's pretty much Netlify. So I did want to really quickly touch on SendGrid on functions. This may be for another time going through the power of functions. You can do an entire webinar on functions, but just to kind of show you the idea of functions and how it's powerful, how you can use it in your bucket, is that we've got these pre-built functions available. This one specifically is a SendGrid email function, and what this does is you can do the same thing with Zapier. You can connect, a SendGrid service to your bucket really easily. But if you just want to do this on your own, maybe for learning purposes, or to do some like really customized things, you can use a function. This one is the SendGrid email function. You can use the function to deploy some of this custom functionality to the cloud. We're using Amazon Web Services Lambda functions, so that gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of power to customize your webhook, right? So for this one, I've deployed this function. I've added my AWS keys. I've got my secret keys. I've got the SendGrid key in there. You just have to set your environment variables, and what this does is it gives me an endpoint that I can then add to a webhook in my bucket. So let's say not only do I want my static site to be deployed and trigger deployed with the content edit, I also want to send an email to my content editor and say, I did edit this new post. We can also do it on multiple events created and published. So this will send an email to those recipients that we set up in our functions area. And anytime content is edited, they'll receive an email saying, yes, here's the edited content. And let me just show you really quick what that looks like. So if I wanted to go in here, let's say I wanted to add a big beautiful image to this this area here, I can do I can add an image, and then I will publish this, and what will happen is this should trigger a build in Netlify as well as send me an email. All right, so as you can see in my email, I now have this beautiful drum set and the content that was published. Okay, so pretty neat, right? It's something that is customizable, and this should actually be updated as well. Should have triggered a build. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? Actually, there isn't a webhook setup on that new, see, created and published. It's not set up on edited. So that's actually what the expected behavior is. So it didn't deploy on content. So what you need to do there is say content edited and published, and then add that build hook, and then that would work, right? Okay. So kind of debugging on the fly, but so you can see the power of this of this workflow. Allows you to communicate with your team, communicate with different API services. Our modern technology world is built on API services, right? So we love the headless CMS and API services movement, Jamstack, all that stuff is awesome. It's all built on this foundation of these great services opening up their APIs for you to communicate between them, helping your team build your applications faster, communicate better. So that's kind of the value proposition in this. It's huge for teams that really want to streamline their development process, and it really is some cool stuff. So that pretty much wraps up this demonstration of webhooks. and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I would love to kind of help personalize your assistance in getting your webhooks set up. So let me know if you have any questions or comments, and yeah, can't wait to see what you guys build using the awesome power of webhooks. All right, bye.